You are just another divorced woman. No one will want you. These words cut deep, leaving her doubting herself and everything she could still dream of. But when the millionaire fell in love with her, what happened next was truly surprising. An unexpected meeting, a caring gesture, and life began to transform before her eyes. And what happened next was truly surprising. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is Linda Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. The service at the office ended at 5 in the afternoon, but Claire still had a pile of forms to file. The digital clock blinked mercilessly, reminding her that she was late to pick up her youngest daughter from her tutoring session. The phone vibrated in the pocket of her faded navy blue blazer, the only formal piece of clothing that still fit her after the girls were born. "Mum, the teacher is waiting. Are you coming?" The message from Sophia, the middle daughter, made Claire swallow hard. She quickly typed a response, promising to arrive in 15 minutes, knowing she would need at least 30. "No problem. I'll take Lucy home." It was the message from Beatrice, her 16-year-old firstborn, already showing the maturity she was forced to develop since the divorce. Claire took a deep breath, trying to ignore the pang of guilt. A year and a half had passed since Edward left home, taking with him not only his clothes and books, but also the financial and emotional security she had known for over a decade. "You are not the same anymore. You're always stressed, distant. I can't take it anymore," were his last words, before closing the door. Maybe he was right. Among the 3 daughters, the growing bills, and the exhausting job as an administrative assistant at St. Peter's School, Claire had lost herself somewhere. There was no infidelity, no scandals, just the gradual silence of a marriage that crumbled like sand between fingers. Her mother's voice still echoed in her mind, sharp as broken glass. "You're just another divorced woman. No one will want you with 3 daughters. Beg him to come back, Claire." But Edward wouldn't come back, and she wouldn't beg either. At 40, Claire Mitchell had learned that pride is sometimes all that's left when everything else falls apart. "Miss Claire, Peter's father is in the waiting room. He said he needs to update some information on the record." The intern's voice pulled Claire from her thoughts. It was Thursday, system update day, and she barely had time to breathe, let alone attend to parents outside of their scheduled appointment. "Can you ask him to schedule an appointment for tomorrow? I'm closing the system," she replied, without taking her eyes off the screen. "He said it will be quick and—" The young woman hesitated. "It's Dr. Daniel Grant, the owner of the dental clinics." Claire knew the name. The school offered partial scholarships for children of local entrepreneurs who made regular donations, and the Grant clinics were one of them. Taking a deep breath, she nodded. "Okay, ask him to come in." Daniel was not what she expected. No impeccable suit or arrogant posture. He entered the small administrative office wearing dark jeans and a simple blue shirt. The grey hairs at his temples contrasted with his attentive brown eyes. Claire noticed the fine lines around them when he smiled, the kind of lines that come from frequent smiles, not worries. "I'm sorry to bother you at the end of the day," he began, with a surprisingly gentle voice for someone who, according to rumours, ran a small empire. "No problem, Mr. Grant. How can I help you?" "Daniel, please." He sat down in the chair across from her desk. "I need to update Peter's emergency contact. My mother, who was the secondary contact, passed away last month." Something about the way he said it, without excessive drama but with a contained sadness in his eyes, made Claire feel an unexpected connection. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you." He nodded, looking at his hands for a moment. "She took care of Peter since my wife passed away 6 years ago. We're adjusting." Claire opened the form in the system, trying to maintain professionalism despite the sudden wave of empathy. As she typed the new information, she noticed Daniel looking at the photographs on her desk, small frames with her 3 daughters at different ages. "Your daughters?" he asked with genuine interest. "Yes." She smiled involuntarily. "Beatrice, Sophia, and Lucy. Beautiful. Peter is an only child. Sometimes I think it would be easier for him to have siblings, someone to share with, you know? The conversation flowed naturally as they finished the update. When Daniel got up to leave, he hesitated for a moment. Claire, I know this might seem strange, but Peter has been having difficulties with math. The coordinator mentioned that your daughter Beatrice tutors some students. Would it be possible for her to include Peter? Despite being young, Beatrice was an exemplary student and had good grades. That's how it started. A simple request, a coincidence of fate. Beatrice, with her natural talent for numbers, began tutoring Peter twice a week, and eventually Daniel would come to pick him up. The first conversations were brief and polite. Daniel would ask about his son's progress, and Claire would respond with succinct reports. But gradually the words multiplied. A question about the weather turned into a conversation about classic movies. A casual remark about the school coffee revealed shared preferences for mystery books. On a rainy afternoon, 3 months after the first meeting, Daniel arrived at the office drenched. Peter was in the library finishing an assignment, and Claire offered him a paper towel and a hot coffee. "Thank you," he said, while awkwardly drying his hair. "It seems I forgot how an umbrella works." She laughed, and something in the sound made Daniel pause. For a moment he just observed her, as if seeing her for the first time. "You know, this is the first genuine smile I've seen on you, Claire." She felt her cheeks burn. "Sorry, I didn't realize it was so serious." "It's not that." He shook his head. "You smile at everyone. You're kind, efficient. But that smile just now, it reached your eyes." That night, lying in the bed of the small apartment she had moved into with her daughters after the divorce, Claire realized she had spent hours thinking about the conversation. A small warmth spread in her chest. An almost forgotten sensation of possibility. The messages started subtly. A simple good morning that Daniel sent after asking for her number to confirm the tutoring schedule. Then, small comments about the day, a picture of the sunset taken from his clinic window, book recommendations. She replied cautiously, putting invisible barriers between the words. "Mum, you're smiling at your phone again," Sophia observed during dinner a few months later. "It's Peter's dad, isn't it?" Claire almost choked on her pasta. "We're just talking, Sophia, we're friends." "Right." Sophia exchanged knowing looks with her sisters. "That's why you changed your perfume and bought that new blouse." Claire didn't respond. How could she explain to her daughters that at 40 she was learning to navigate waters she thought had dried up forever? How could she say she was afraid, not of Daniel, but of herself, of her expectations, of dragging her daughters into another disappointment? The first meeting happened almost by accident. One Friday, when the girls would be with their father, Daniel suggested a coffee after work. A coffee that turned into dinner, which turned into a walk through the city's park on a quiet night. Daniel talked about his childhood in a simple family, how he had worked since he was 14 to help at home, how he met his late wife in dental school, and together they opened the first clinic with loans and a lot of work. "People see the clinics now and think I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth," he remarked as they walked side by side. "They don't know how many nights I stayed awake worrying about the bills, especially after Marianne got sick." Claire sensed the vulnerability in his words, the same kind of struggle she faced, just on different scales. "I think we all have our invisible battles," she replied, allowing herself to share a bit of her own story. The marriage that unravelled not due to major traumas, but because of the slow erosion of the everyday. The cruel remark from her mother. The night spent awake worrying about the girls, about the future. When Daniel dropped her off at home, there was no kiss, just a long hug and the silent promise of more conversations. The months passed, and the relationship grew in the shadows of routine. Claire initially kept Daniel away from her daughters, not out of shame, but for protection. She had seen friends introduce boyfriends to their children, only for them to disappear weeks later, leaving little broken hearts. I'm not in a hurry, Daniel assured when she explained her concerns. We have time. And he proved his patience. As their relationship blossomed over post-work coffees, late-night messages, and occasional weekends when the girls were with their father, Daniel never pressured to meet them formally. It was Claire who finally gave in, almost 2 years after that first meeting at the office. Do you want to come over for dinner on Sunday? She asked, almost casually, during one of their lunches. The girls will be there. They know about you. They want to meet you. Daniel's eyes shone with restrained emotion. I would love to. The dinner was surprisingly calm. Daniel brought dessert, a chocolate cake he had made himself, following his mother's recipe. The girls, initially reserved, soon felt at ease with his calm demeanour and funny stories about Peter, whom they already knew from school. Lucy, the youngest at 10, was the first to completely give in. Do you know how to play Uno? She asked after dessert. I'm practically a world champion, replied Daniel with feigned seriousness. An hour later, the room was filled with laughter as Daniel spectacularly lost to Lucy, who displayed a triumphant smile. Later, when the girls were already in bed, Daniel helped Claire wash the dishes. They are amazing, Claire. You did an incredible job. We did the best we could. Edward is a good father, despite everything. Daniel nodded, acknowledging the absence of bitterness in her voice. You know, when Marianne died, I thought I would never feel this again, he said quietly, looking at his wet hands. This feeling of family, of belonging to something bigger than myself. I have Peter, but it feels so different now. Claire felt her heart race as Daniel turned to face her. I don't want to replace anyone in your daughters' lives. I don't want to erase your past or change who you are. I just want to be a part of it, if you'll let me. That night, for the first time, Claire allowed herself to dream of a future different from what she had imagined for herself. The following months brought a gradual integration. Daniel and Peter started joining Sunday lunches, then park outings, and then small weekend trips. Beatrice, the most reserved, was the last to completely let her guard down, but when she did, she formed a partnership with Daniel based on conversations about books and college plans. It was during one of these conversations that Claire discovered something that left her in shock. Daniel suggested that I try for medicine at the Federal University, Beatrice remarked while they studied together at the kitchen table. He said he can help me with the costs if I pass. Claire felt her blood turn cold. Did he say that? She asked, trying to keep her voice neutral. Yes. Beatrice seemed excited. He said he believes in my potential and that it would be an investment in my future, not charity. That night, when the girls were asleep, Claire called Daniel, her voice trembling with suppressed emotion. You can't do that, Daniel. You can't just offer to pay for my daughter's college without talking to me first. There was silence on the other end of the line. You're right. I'm sorry. His voice was soft, contrite. I didn't think it through. Beatrice mentioned medicine and I got excited. I didn't mean to overstep. It's not just about boundaries. Claire felt tears escape. I don't want you to think I'm with you for what you can offer financially. I don't want the girls to think that. I don't want anyone to think that. Claire, listen. His voice became firmer. Never, not for a second did I think that. You worked alone for 2 years before even letting me meet your daughters. If you wanted any material benefit, you would have acted differently. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was laden with emotion. I love you. I love the girls. What I have, what I've built, means nothing if I can't share it with you. It's not about money. It's about family. It was the first time he said I love you, in the middle of an argument over the phone, in the least romantic way possible. And yet, Claire felt as if something inside her finally clicked into place. The following week, Daniel showed up at the small apartment with a different proposal. He didn't bring flowers or expensive gifts, just a small carved wooden box. I bought this for you, he said, as he opened the box to reveal a simple silver ring with a small blue stone. I thought it was beautiful, like you. Claire looked at the ring. Its simplicity and the affection made her smile widely. I'm not asking you to marry me now, Daniel continued. I'm asking for permission to build something together. You, me, your daughters, Peter. A family, in our own way, in our own time. The tears came freely this time. I'm not perfect, Daniel. I have bad days, insecurities, 3 teenage daughters who will be a handful, overdue bills. And I have grey hair, a company that sometimes keeps me up at night, a son who is entering adolescence and occasional nightmares about losing those I love. He held her hands. I'm not looking for perfection, Claire. I'm looking for real. And you are the most real thing I've ever found. 6 months later, they moved to a larger house, with enough rooms for everyone and a backyard where Lucy could play with the dog she had longed for. It wasn't an instant fairy tale. There was adjustment, discussions about rules, boundaries, personal spaces. Beatrice passed the medical school entrance exam, and the decision about financing was made within the family. Daniel would help, but she would also work part-time and maintain good grades for a partial scholarship. Sophia discovered a love for photography, and together they set up a small studio in the guest room. Lucy gained in Daniel a partner for board games and a patient listener for her elaborate stories. Edward, Claire's ex-husband, initially suspicious, eventually developed a mutual respect with Daniel. They weren't close friends but were able to sit together at the girls' school events and talk civilly about their education. One Sunday afternoon, almost 3 years after that first meeting at the office, Claire watched from the porch as Daniel lay on the grass, exhausted from the week but still trying to stay close to the children. And it all seemed so unreal. The simplicity of the moment filled her eyes with tears. Claire's phone vibrated, a message from her mother, who had gradually accepted the new family setup after seeing her daughter's happiness. You look well. I'm happy for you, daughter. Claire smiled, typing a simple response. We are well. In a way I never imagined possible. Daniel looked up at that moment, meeting her gaze. They didn't need words. He simply smiled, and she smiled back, knowing that true love hadn't arrived like a knight in shining armor. He had arrived as a man with grey hair, a gentle smile and infinite patience, who looked at her broken pieces and said without words, every day, "You're beautiful like this too." And Claire finally understood. True love is not the one that pulls you out of the storm. It's the one that stays by your side until you remember how to dance in the rain. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.